Could Alec Bohm be out of the Phillies' plans and another Alex in? Alex versus Alec? We'll break it all down today here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. Plus, Matt Gelb's going to join us at 11:30. Coming up next. Alex in, Alec out. We're going to have to work on our Alex versus Alec.
Yeah.
Potentially. Welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast. Everybody in here right off the bat. Will and Pat Ryan and Larry's Backyard and Chris. Appreciate you guys hopping in right off the jump today. The hot stuff's great. Like, I do. Baseball offseason is long, but I do like roster construction, whether it be Eagles or Phillies or Sixers. Like, there is a level of enjoyment of offseason roster building and construction and
sure.
Would you and would you do this? Would you do that I really love? And, we're going to talk to Matt Gelb about this at 11:30, but like, there's a lot on the table right now. And the latest, Tyler, is a guy we've talked about before. Alec Bohm, as Jeff Passan said, was that Monday or was that last Friday? Whenever it was.
I don't know. These days all blend together at this
Jeff
point.
Passan says, Alec Bohm officially on the block. Matt Gelb, who's joining us last week from the GM's meeting, basically said they'll listen on Bohm, Marsh, and possibly some others, maybe even Ranger. And then last night, we have a tweet from Buster Olney, who has been around the game for a long, long time and is very tied in. He's probably a 1B to Jeff Passan's 1A. In my own book.
Fair. I mean, I think Passan is, to me, the best of the best.
So you've had Jeff Passan say Bohm is on the block. Now you have Buster Olney say something he's hearing around Major League Baseball.
Sure.
And we'll show the tweet to you.
I mean, there's got to be validity to it at this point, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you have Gelb, Passan, and Buster Olney. I mean, I don't need any more.
So you got one of the most trusted local sources.
Yep.
And two of the more experienced, trusted national sources.
Yeah.
Telling you the same thing.
Yes. That the Phillies are willing to move on from Alec Bohm.
Once is hypothetical, twice is coincidence, three times is there's
fire.
Smoke and fire. Yeah. What's that saying where there's smoke, there's fire?
Yeah, there's definitely fire.
Clearly some fire here.
Yeah, so the Buster Olney tweet from last night, JP, if you can show the good people, there it is. The most interesting prediction heard from a rival evaluator. The Phillies land Alex Bregman. His swing transitions to that park, strong defense, lots of postseason scar tissue. I think that last part is by far and away the most important part.
What that if Dave Dombrowski had like an antenna, that last one is where he makes his makes his bones. Like, he wants somebody with playoff experience. There's no doubt about it. This team has, fallen short in the last 2 years. I think some people are going to say, well, they fell short 3 times because they lost the World Series. To me, they've fallen short the last 2 years. So if you're looking for somebody with playoff experience, with a playoff mantra, I mean, a guy like Alex Bregman would fit the bill.
Anthony, Alex Bregman, in or out?
Oh, big thumbs down.
His numbers did drop last year.
Look at this. There's the splits right there for you.
I don't know if you can hear Anthony Gargano screaming, cooked.
No part of Bregman.
No part.
Put it on the downside.
No
part.
40 points on the OBP, 90 points on the slugging, 14 on the OPS, two and a half on the WAR.
No part of them.
No part. Nope. Listen, I'm up to trading the kid, but I got to get better at third.
You don't think he's a clear upgrade?
No, I don't. I think he's on the downside.
What do you think about Buster Olney saying viable playoff scar tissue? Hop on the headset real quick. Tell us your thoughts. Enlighten us.
No.
Hello, Anthony.
Hello, boys.
Hello.
It's my fellas.
So you're
No, he's cooked. I don't want nothing to do with him. I saw him last year. I follow him close because I follow. You know, I'm a loser, right? So I follow that. He's done.
Yeah.
He's cooked.
Wow. So it comes down to he's $20 million more than Alec Bohm.
Yeah. No.
So you're out.
Out.
What if you can't improve outfield as much as you can improve? But you don't believe Bregman?
I don't know. I don't. I bet on Bohm's up, and for that money, I'll take Bohm's upside. The only way I do it, if first of all, I don't want Bregman. So, but if I'm going to move Bohm, it's because I need to get an outfielder, and then I'll figure out third.
So that's the thing. My question remains: is Bregman plus a better left field upgrade greater than Bohm and Marsh?
Yeah, now that's legitimate.
So
right?
that to me is where the question starts to come in.
That's legitimate. I agree with you there. Like, if I can upgrade the outfield, it sounds crazy because I'm upgrading the outfield and I'm spending $20 million more.
Sure.
So, but I'm not a big fan. I think Bregman's
I'm hesitant of a 4 or 5 year deal for sure. But like my thinking is always there's no bad short-term deals in baseball. But it's probably the last contract he can get.
Dude, he's not the same. He's not the same.
I know.
And he does not the same pop. Listen, he matched lefties. He hit lefties last year. That he can still do that.
But so you're much more intrigued by Luis Robert and Garrett Crochet than Bregman?
I like Crochet, yeah.
All right.
I mean,
well, Anthony's actually going to be in with us Friday here on the Phillies show. So looking forward to that. We'll dive deeper into it. But yes, some of the most trusted names in baseball are saying this could be a possibility. And my concern is kind of what he's alluding to. You have the numbers in front of you.
Sure.
You can kind of deep dive. He is 31 years old, going to be 32.
Yeah, he'll be 31.
He'll be 31
He'll be
this
31.
season. Numbers are in a little bit of a decline. Being a 31-year-old, this is probably his last opportunity for the big bag, as they say, and I'm hesitant to give him a 4 or 5 year deal. If you could get him on a 1 or 2 year deal, like if I could give him a 2 year, his market value projected wise is $30 million AAV right now. If I could get him on,
sure,
say,
it's a lot of money.
A 2 year.
I don't think you're going to, though.
I don't think so either. But this is what I would be comfortable with. When you get into 4 and 5 years, potentially, I become more uncomfortable. So to the point where I probably don't do it.
This is a team that has routinely showed you that they are willing to go more years to alleviate the AAV. I don't believe if there is an acquisition of a player like Alex Bregman, they would do a higher AAV on a lower year count. Like if you were to say we can offer you 2 or 3 at 35, or we could offer you 4 or 5 at 28, the Phillies would take the more years to stretch out the AAV.
Sure.
That's been their mantra the whole time. I just don't think it's kind of one of these conversations where if you're looking to add a player in free agency, it really does take a 2 to tango, because you could say, hey, we want to give you $70 million over the next 2 seasons. And, the AAV would be much higher, but we're only willing to give you 2 years. But if a team comes in with 90 guaranteed over 4, that it's a lower AAV. That's just a made up number. It's probably more than that. You're probably talking $110 to $120 million for 4 years. But if another team says we're going to offer you that, Bregman's probably going to take the longer term deal because baseball's guaranteed, right? So you're going to get more money up front, but in the long run, you're going to end up with more money in totality. So
I wonder. Well,
I think to become players in an Alex Bregman market, you would have to. I think the years are going to start with 3 minimum.
I would agree.
And
with
you're
you.
probably talking 4 or 5.
Yeah. What I threw into our Discord last night was like, would you drastically overpay for 2 years? Because Aiden Miller is a part of this. He's a huge part of the team's future. So you don't want to lock in somebody look, and Trey Turner can always move to the outfield in time if Aiden Miller wants to stay at short, but then you have Starlin Caba. So you do kind of have to balance, walk that tight wire of future planning. I threw out, would you pay him 2 years, $75 million?
It's a lot of money, man.
It is, but it would keep your timeline in order. You're not committed long term. He is 31 years old. Now, we'll deep dive the numbers here. He's only, I believe, 2.5 years older than Alec Bohm.
Correct.
Now, Anthony said something there like, I'll bet on the upside of Bohm. Has he?
What more upside is my question.
That's what I'm saying. He's kind of a fully baked pie at this point. He's not a kid anymore. He's not a pup. He's going to be, I believe, 28 years old.
Yep. He
kind of is what he is at this point. I don't know how much more upside you can get than what he gave you last year. And I think what's giving the Phillies, the catalyst here is there's a lot of talk about his body language and his maturity.
Sure.
And AJ Przinsky was on Foul Territory last night and said, from the people I talked to around the Phillies organization, there's a strong belief there that he has some serious maturing and growing up to do. He was benched in Game 3 versus the Mets. Do you bench cornerstone pieces in a playoff series, in a 5-game series? No, not typically. So that, to me, speaks volumes that he is on his way out of here. Then the question becomes, like we talked about yesterday, who do you replace him with? How realistic is Bregman? What are you getting for Bohm? Are you getting outfielders? Are you getting bullpen relief?
It's
very interesting.
You and I were talking about this prior to the show about him specifically being sat down for that game. What was it, Game 3?
Game 3, yeah.
Game 3 gets benched. It wasn't for productivity. Everybody stunk. The entire offense was putrid. We talked about it through, for the last 4 or 5 weeks now. They hit 186 as a team. The entire offense wasn't very good. So why Alec Bohm specifically? Because, yeah, he wasn't productive, but neither was JT Realmuto. Neither was Brandon Marsh. Neither was the whole team, right? It was a whole team effort at offensive ineptitude. So why Alec Bohm specifically? I don't think it was a production thing. I think it was a head check thing. I think it was a sit down. I need you to understand what you're doing wrong, not on the baseball field, well, on the baseball field, but not as a productive nature or lack thereof. As a you kind of need to grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, if that's how the Phillies view Alec Bohm, and if Game 3 was any indicator of that, and the slamming of the helmets and really poor plate discipline down the stretch, and I understand that he was injured and it sapped some of his doubles ability down the stretch, and I don't think he ever really regained what he had in the first half of the season.
So OPS plummeted over 150 points from first half to second half.
So if that's the case, if it is a maturity thing, the flip side then, if you talk about Alex Bregman, it's a guy who has performed in the playoffs in the past. The numbers are declining. There is no question about it. The numbers have been in decline for a while now. MLB Network was talking about this on Baseball Tonight. Brian Kenny was discussing this. I think this was last night or maybe it was 2 nights ago. His OBP from 2017 to 2019 was 391. The last 3 years, 349. The slugging is down nearly 100 points. Well, nearly 90 points, I should say, in that same time frame. The OPS is down 23 points. Now, I don't care about WAR, but they highlighted it, so I'll show you. 2.5 per season.
You love WAR,
He's
Tyler.
down.
Stop lying to the people. They're here to get your opinion and how much you love the WAR stat.
So I hate WAR. WAR sucks. It's a terrible stat. Let me. You want the good or the bad on Alex Bregman?
I'm feeling good today. Hit me with the good first, and then we'll deal with the
He's
bad.
a clear defensive upgrade over Alec Bohm.
Oh yeah, that's.
There's higher pop potential even in his diminishing numbers. He's hit 23 or more home runs each of the last 3 seasons. He had 26 last year. He squares up balls at a ridiculously high rate. He doesn't chase. He doesn't whiff. He doesn't strike out. Those are all your positives.
I mean, that's what the Phillies are looking for, right?
Here's your negatives.
Oh, no.
Those numbers have been in pretty steady decline over each of the last 3 seasons.
In decline from greatness, though.
In decline,
which is still
decline
good.
From great to probably good.
Yes.
The problem becomes, if the decline continues, what are you looking at in year 3 and 4?
That's why I wanted the short-term deal, not the 4 and 5 year deal, but that's maybe not an option.
His bat speed has slowed down. Since bat speed's been tracked, his bat speed has slowed down into the 41st percentile. Last season, he's about 71%. I think to put it into example, I believe Bryson Stott was at about 63. So it gives you an understanding of his bat speed. He's in the lower 50%. His hard hit rate is down. His barrel rate is down. His exit velocity is down. He's not a particularly good base runner. Neither is Alec Bohm. They're both about average base runners. There is merit to an Alex Bregman. Is there merit to an Alex Bregman at $30 million a season? Where the question comes in.
Yeah, and that's where the length of the contract is going to basically be the deciding factor here, because at age 31, he doesn't have any more chances at getting the bag.
This will be his last substantial contract, I would think.
So I really find it hard to believe a short-term deal could be on the table. So do the Phillies think about getting another guy between the ages of 31 and 34? Maybe their prime is just past them. Maybe they're in it. Do you pay, open market value on a 4-year deal for Alec Bregman if you move on from Bohm? I wish I had that answer.
So we talked about this.
Fascinated to know.
We talked about this on Monday. I talked about this with John this morning. If you're trading Alec Bohm, you have to have an idea of what the process is going to be for, let's say, the next 2 seasons at the third base position.
Sure.
I don't know if there's much of an understanding of what that would look like without having somebody in hand prior to the move, or at least having a knowledge of what that might look like. Bregman's name's been floated out there. Arenado's name's been floated out there. I think
Arenado's more cooked than Bregman.
2 years ago, I clamored for Arenado. I would have moved Alec Bohm in a second to acquire Nolan Arenado. I don't think at this point the return on Nolan Arenado would be nearly worth it, considering the fact that I think he's making $26 million for each of the next 3 seasons, and it might be a 4th.
So are you going Bregman at open market value or Arenado in a trade at that 3 years, 26?
Of those two?
If those were your 2 options, which are you going with?
I'm probably going Bregman.
It is gonna. It seems to me, we were having the conversation, and we're about to take a break to tell you some friends here. We were having a conversation before the show, and it feels to me like a mortal lock at this point that Alec Bohm is going to be moved. It feels like that's coming.
I would just love to know what the game plan is. And you don't have a crystal ball, right?
Sure.
I'd love to know what the game plan is at third base prior to that move. But unfortunately, you're never going to have that understanding. By the way, Nolan Arenado's contract, assuming the internet here wants to work today, he still has 3 years. Oh, and I apologize. It actually dips. He was at 27. It's 21 next year, and then 16 each of the next 2 seasons.
Ooh, that changes things.
It's still...
He's kind of cooked, though.
There is deferred money, though, each of the next...
bucks?
17 years.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got deferred money through 2041 at $3 million, about $3 million. All
right, we're going to continue this conversation on the other side, but first, let's take care of some business.
Yeah, and while we're here, let me tell you about our friends over at Empire Today, because, listen, shopping at the big box floor stores can become hassle. It can become tiresome. It can become tedious because there are thousands of different options for you to choose from. So what Empire does is they take the difficulty, they take the issues away from you, and they make it simple. Now, you could go into a big box store and maybe you get the lowest price or whatever the case may be. What Empire is going to promise you, they're not going to give you these big, bold gestures. What they're going to promise you is incredible customer service. What they're going to promise you is incredible work from the start of the process to your buying experience. What they're going to promise you is the ability to see what your room is going to look like with their online tool, their virtual floor design. It is a great way for you to be able to see just exactly what the room that you're gonna make into kind of your home. Whether you want to upgrade your home, you're looking to pull up your carpet and instead put hardwood in, or you want to put tile in, or maybe you just want to swap out some carpet for some better, newer carpet. You can do that by just uploading a picture to Empire's virtual floor design, and you're going to be able to see what your space looks like in the matter of seconds. Listen, they pride themselves on the convenience of their shop at home experience. And again, they take the guesswork, they take the troublesome nature of going to the big box stores out of it. Empire has your back every step of the way. And you're going to schedule a free in-home estimate today. You'll get $350 off when you use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions do apply. See empiretoday.com/PHLY for more details.
And let me tell you why it's never ordinary over at Bet365. Use promo code PHLY365 at sign up. You can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use that promo code PHLY365, deposit $10, make a bet for $5, and boom, you're $150 in bonus bets richer right there in your account. You can use that on spreads, player props, futures, parlays, and more. So find out why it's never ordinary. They have over 90 million worldwide users. They've basically perfected in-game betting, which is the smart way to go about betting these days. Get a feel for the game, hop in, take advantage of it. And they have the best early payout offers across sports, whether it's NBA, NHL, NFL, or Major League Baseball. Whatever the criteria is in said sport, you hit that and boom, cashed out right on the spot. Don't even have to wait till the end of the game. And every day we're powering up hundreds of bets to give you more an opportunity to win with over 10,000 boosts every single month. And make sure you keep your eyes peeled for those PHLY custom boosts that we have going on for every Eagles game. We'll have Sixers and Flyers and plenty more coming up. So download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you and you can get that $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Matt Gelb from The Athletic is going to join us in about 10 minutes.
I like the suggestion from Pat Ryan here.
What do we got?
Rays get to use Clearwater's stadium for the season, and the Phillies in exchange get Junior Caminero.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm in on that.
All jokes aside, though,
they are
catastrophic damage to Tropicana
$55
Field.
million to replace it.
Yes, I know. Like that was,
and they're
us
responsible.
being facetious, but it's
crazy.
They
They rent the stadium from the city of Tampa, but they're responsible for all maintenance and upkeep on the stadium.
Yeah,
and the roof, because it's hurricane proof or whatever. It's $55 million for a stadium they want to move on from anyway.
It's a really unfortunate situation for both the city of Tampa and the Rays fan base. They're probably going to end up playing at I think
Yankee Stadium in Tampa is the next closest.
Here's my question.
Steinbrenner Field.
Here's my question. So yeah, you're talking about Tampa. You're talking about Clearwater, right? Those are the two probably thought processes of where you're going to play. So what happens to the Tarpons? And what happens to the Threshers? Where do they go play?
Yeah, I don't know.
Now, granted, I think the MLB is going to look at it and go, well, we care much more about our Major League product than we do about the low A affiliate. But it's not the low A affiliate of the Rays, right? If it were the Rays affiliate, I guess you figure it out. But you're now talking about inconveniencing either New York's or the Phillies minor league team. I don't know how they do this properly.
I don't know.
My guess is Major League Baseball comes in and says, we're taking over. And it is what it is, and you're just going to unfortunately have to deal with it.
Well, gentlemen, there's some vacant stadiums in Montreal and Oakland.
Well,
Charleston River Dogs are the Rays single A affiliate.
You bring up Montreal and things like that. When Toronto had to play in Buffalo for the year, the Buffalo didn't play. The minor leagues didn't play that season, right? There was just the taxi squad teams, so it was a little bit of a different situation. You have your, I shouldn't say your full complement because your full complement was prior to the COVID, season and shrinking of the minor league systems. But you have a pretty much close to your full complement is what it's going to be at this point. I guess they're probably going to bounce around, right? Do they go play some in Tampa, some in Dunedin, some in Clearwater?
I think there's more damage to the stadium. I was going to say maybe you could just play without the roof on like clear days because the weather's usually pretty good there. But I think there's more damage to the stadium where it's probably a safety hazard.
It's not just a roof thing. That's the problem.
That's unfortunate. I don't know what they're going to do. That's going to be a nightmare. That sucks. I don't know what they do. There's no easy answer for that one.
No, it's unfortunate. And I think Kevin brings it up. I think it won't be ready until April of 26. They were saying,
and
possibly.
They want a new stadium. Why would they even sink the money into? I don't know what they do.
Well, that comes back to dealing with the city of Tampa and St. Petersburg and Clearwater and getting clearances and zoning and that's above my understanding.
Could this end up being like the Rays or Tampa losing the Rays eventually?
There's always conversation of Tampa losing the Rays.
Right.
I mean, that comes up every year. It's a conversation of relocation of, are they the Nashville team? Are they going to Montreal? Would they go to like a San Antonio? Would they go to a Portland? There's always conversation because the Rays don't make any money. They don't have any, the fans don't want to go there. It's a absolute pain in the ass to get to the stadium. There's like basically one highway in and one highway out. It's a disaster prior to a natural disaster taking over and causing problems for their stadium build. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is to this. I really don't.
I don't know what they do. It'll be interesting. So the Alec Bregman thing is definitely on high alert now.
Oh, you did it there.
I said Alec.
Yeah.
Alex. A lot of Alec talk. Which one's the more dominant? Alex.
What do you mean?
Well, the more common. It's Alex.
Alex, I think, with an X.
So, because yesterday I had the conversation with Zach Berman about ZACH versus ZACK.
I think ZACH is more prominent than ZACK.
Yes, because that's the abbreviation for Zachary.
For Zachary, correct.
Zach, ZACK, like Zach Bohm. That's just like its own name, right? Like you're kind of making your own name. You're not
I
abbreviating.
mean, I guess it could be with. You could spell Zachary. With
What are
K.
you guys saying?
That's the bad boy
I don't know.
of the
We're just filling
Zachs.
time until Matt gets here.
So which is the bad
Zach
boy
and
of the
Zach.
Alexes? Because Alec Bohm sounds kind of like foo-foo fancy. Alex, I think, is the more bad boy one that smokes cigarettes, has facial hair, rolls the cigarette pack up in the sleeve, right?
What?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we're talking about
Half-pipe
the
skateboard
outsiders.
stuff,
What
That's
are,
Alex.
What are you saying?
Alex.
Are you calling him a hipster? What's going on there?
He's the Rizzler? What'd you say?
A hipster.
No, a hipster, not the Rizzler. So it's going to be very interesting to see the owners' meetings are coming up here in the in between the first and second week of December. That's when things really get cooking. The offseason did kind of pick up, I guess, a little bit yesterday. Our old friend Travis d'Arnaud signs with the Anaheim Angels for $2.5 million, and basically will just not play competitive baseball this year.
Well,
that's fun.
You're playing on a major league roster.
That's
right?
cool.
I mean, it's got to count for some. I mean, that's the thought. Like we always think about this as like, well, you're playing for the Angels or you're playing for the White Sox, you're playing for whomever.
Yeah, you're getting paid to play baseball.
You're playing on a major. Sometimes that's your only option, and you're playing on a major league roster, right? So, I think d'Arnaud is a serviceable backup at this point. I think his best years are behind him, but he's a serviceable enough backup. He'll probably, kind of battle for some starting run in another organization, but he's not going to do it with the Angels because Logan O'Hoppy's going to be their everyday catcher. I think he signs there knowing what he's signing up for.
Yeah. So before we get to Matt, and in a second, we're going to take a break and tell you about some more friends of ours. Bryce Harper did win the Silver Slugger yesterday, Tyler.
Yep. Not unexpected.
Not unexpected. Cool.
Sure.
I guess.
I mean, you're talking about a guy who's now won the Silver Slugger at 3 different positions.
That is pretty wild.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. What was it, center, right, and first?
No, right, DH, and first.
Oh, that's kind of cheating.
Oh, I forgot DH wasn't a position.
Well, position. Position implies playing the field to me. I know position means spot in the lineup, but
okay.
On. Yeah.
You're angry Elf today.
No, I'm not angry, Elf. I just thought, I don't know. I saw all this stuff yesterday. And I went,
Did you not get enough sleep last night, Jamie?
I stayed up way too late. I was watching Duke, Kentucky. It was kind of a good basketball night, so I was up way too late. Yeah, cool.
He's the only one, and he was the only one I expected. Bohm was a finalist, but Manny Machado had a tremendous year. Not a surprise. I did want to bring this up to you before we got to Matt. Jackson Merrill wins a Silver Slugger. He becomes the 4th youngest player ever to win a Silver Slugger award. Do you want to take a guess at who the 3 younger players are to win a Silver Slugger award?
Juan Soto.
Hold on, let me go back and find it. Now, of course, I'm not going to be able to find this. I should have sent it to myself.
I always send stuff to myself. It's the only way. It's got to be Juan Soto.
It is
right?
not Juan Soto, no.
Really?
No.
How old is Jackson Merrill?
21, I want to say.
Oof.
One is not. I'm going to tell you one you're never going to get because you're never going to think about. One's a pitcher.
Oh, wow.
So you're never going to think about this guy or this position when you're thinking about Silver.
Bryce Harper wouldn't have won.
It is not Bryce Harper, no. But similar era for one of the guys.
Julio Rodriguez.
No. It is Alex Rodriguez, Mike Trout. Do you know who the youngest player to ever win a Silver Slugger award is?
Who?
Fernando Valenzuela.
Really?
Yes.
For a pitcher Silver Slugger?
Correct. He won the pitcher Silver Slugger.
That's awesome. All right. We got Matt Gelb from The Athletic coming up next. But first, let's take care of some business. And let me tell you about our friends over at Blue Chew. They say first impressions are important. What about those lasting impressions, though? That's where Blue Chew can help you out. Blue Chew helps give men longer lasting and stronger erections so you can perform at your very best. If you're asking if Blue Chew works, you know that Blue Chew is putting their money where their mouth is by giving you a month for free. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. The process is super simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made right here in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door. The best part, it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in the line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead and have that boner ready whenever an opportunity arises. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code ALLCITY at checkout and pay just $5 for shipping. That's promo code ALLCITY to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you about our friends over at Glad Hair Restoration, and maybe I don't do it justice, but if you want to listen to the morning show, John Marks does a tremendous job because he has firsthand experience with the team over at Glad Hair Restoration, and they're not just going to treat you like another customer. They're not just going to treat you like another patient. You are one of one. You are going to get an incredible approach to your specific care that is expressly designed for you. Each member of their exceptionally trained team has over 30 years of industry experience, and hair restoration is all that they do. Here's some of the things that you may be able to get while you have your consultation and when you're meeting with the team over at Glad Hair Restoration. The TED treatment, which John talks about, he gets every year just for a little bit of a touch-up just to make sure everything's okay. Laser light therapy, vitamin supplementation, and then if necessary, yes, the hair restoration surgery. Each patient is going to get that one-on-one consultation to tell you exactly what the best point of care for you is going to be. Glad's not just about restoration. They're about innovation. They have breakthrough treatments that will dramatically change your life. If you want to improve how you look and how you feel, listen, if you like bald is optional. But if you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself, Glad Hair is the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence and visit gladhairmctr.com or visit 610-980-4000 to get started.
All right, this is the PHLY Phillies podcast. He is Tyler Zulli. I'm Jamie Lynch, and excited to welcome in our next guest here. He does a tremendous job covering the Phillies. He writes for The Athletic. He was down in San Antonio last week at the GM meetings. So we're going to bring him on here momentarily. But Tyler, to me, the last two off seasons have kind of been like ready-made in terms of there's not a lot of flexibility. You're kind of set. This off season, I think everything's kind of on the table. A lot of options could be possible.
Sure, and I think the one after the World Series kind of was you take care of your own and you run it back, because this was a run that was, kind of unexpected, kind of magical, and you take advantage of it. After the Game 7 NLCS loss, you kind of do a similar thing because you realize, okay, maybe this was a flukier nature of a loss, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you, you overlook it, but I think that there's probably a thought process of like, we should have won that series, and if they win that series, then you're talking about what could happen against Texas. I don't personally believe they beat Texas in the World Series last year, but you're talking about an opportunity to be back in it for a second consecutive time. This year, there's a little bit more flexibility. This year, you're talking about
open-minded is the word Dave Dombrowski has used over and over.
Shake-up is another term that they've
all right,
coined.
Well, let's bring him in. He does an excellent job covering the Phillies for The Athletic. Matt Gelb joins us now. Matt, tremendous stuff last week down at the GM meetings, talking to Dave and Rob and even John Middleton there. It does seem on the heels of Buster Olney's tweet last night, Jeff Passan, you were kind of the first to put it out there. Alec Bohm is more or less, it seems like, on the block and can be had. What are your thoughts here with the third base position and Buster Olney mentioning Alec Bregman and kind of what's up in the air here?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot is undecided. Like, I don't know that it's necessarily like a Bohm or Bregman thing. And
sure.
I think they've put a lot of guys out there. I think what they've talked about early on with other teams is a willingness to move certain pieces of the roster, whether that's some realistic ones like an Alec Bohm, maybe a less realistic one like Nick Castellanos. I think Ranger Suarez, Brandon Marsh, Johan Rojas. I mean, these are kind of guys that they are looking to shake things up. And there are only so many spots on the roster where they can shake it up and get something decent in return. Like, there are players on the team that you don't want to trade. There are players on the team that you can't trade because of contract situation. And these guys that I've mentioned as possible trade targets, I don't know necessarily that they want to trade these players. I think, though, that they're looking at it in a sense of, if we want to shake things up, which I think they do. You guys were just talking about the idea of not running it back, which I think is certainly how they're approaching this. There's only so many spots on the roster that offer value to other teams where you can maybe shake it up. So I think the idea of wanting to perhaps trade Alec Bohm isn't because they don't like Alec Bohm, isn't because they don't think Alec Bohm can be a valuable hitter for them. I think it's because he might be a guy who gets them the best return and also gives them a little more flexibility to maybe fill out the rest of the roster.
So who, in your best guess right now, and look, the owners' meetings haven't even happened yet, who in your best estimation right now was on the opening day roster last year that won't be this year? Is it Marsh or is it Bohm or is it Ranger?
Probably in those guys I mentioned. I mean, Bohm or Suarez, maybe at the top. I think because those two guys offer probably the greatest value in a trade with another team. Bohm's got 2 years left of club control. Suarez has got 1 year left of club control. And so a lot of the conversations that they've been having, I think, the Phillies, have been about, like, okay, what's the short-term fit and what's the long-term fit here, right? I mean, like, you're trying to think about 2025, but you're also trying to think about beyond. And, maybe they've reached at least a decision internally, or at least maybe are leaning internally to saying, okay, these are guys who we like, but we might not be in a position to extend them long term. And if we've decided that we're not going to extend those guys long term, maybe it's best for us to see what we can get from them now and get a better fit for our roster, both in the short and the long term. I don't know. I mean, these are two guys who have been productive players for the Phillies. I mean, two guys with big upsides. We saw the potential of Alec Bohm in the first 2 or 3 months of the season. We've seen the potential of Ranger Suarez before. We also know, both the pluses and the minuses of these guys. And so I kind of understand if they are looking to move on for either one of those guys. I don't think it's a slam dunk, though, that either one gets traded.
So you bring up kind of the short term versus the long term, and that kind of segues with Ranger Suarez into the starting rotation over the next couple of seasons. It seems like there is a fairly finite area of maybe miss or hit when it comes to, do you extend Ranger and what's the long term plan other than Andrew Painter eventually joining the rotation. So to me, and I'm curious your thoughts, to me it feels like if you move on from Ranger Suarez, you're either feeling confident that you could expedite Andrew Painter to the majors fairly quickly, or there's another plan in place to acquire another, at least middle of the rotation starter. With the fact that the fifth rotation spot was so up in the air last year between Taijuan Walker and everybody else that they use, how do you view like the balance between right now and maximizing your rotation right now, and also understanding that you do have to plan for that future?
Yeah, I mean, this is the balance they're trying to strike here, and because honestly, like, most teams don't have five good starters, right? I mean, most teams have three, four really good starters. They need someone to step up to be the fifth guy, and it won't be Painter right away. Like, I think their plan for Painter is going to be have him get to the majors at, maybe slow him early in the season. He probably won't be pitching in spring training, maybe limited in spring training, because I think they'd rather have Painter for July, August, September, October, rather than April, May, June. And I get that. I think that's the right strategy. I think I'm totally on board with that idea. They need someone to step up internally to be a fifth starter, like a viable fifth starter. And we're not talking about, we're not talking about needing this guy to be a Zach Wheeler or even a Christopher Sanchez. I mean, just somebody who can keep you in a game every fifth day. And they have internal candidates for that. I do think they'll be looking, for this year's Spencer Turnbull, for example, if you want to use, an elegant comparison. But they'll be looking for rotation depth. It's hard, though, because starters will look at them and say, well, they have a bunch of starters. Why would I sign with the Phillies as depth? Because I probably have an opportunity elsewhere to start. So Painter's going to be a factor in 2025. Like, I don't think there's a question about it. They're confident in him being a factor at some point during the season. Um, they have three starters they really like in Wheeler, Nola, and Sanchez. They have a guy in Suarez who they also like, but I think they have to entertain this idea because he's their number four guy very clearly right now. And if you can trade your number four guy for another big league player who you think better helps you or better fits your roster, then you go out and maybe either sign a guy to a 1-year deal or you go trade for somebody. I still think the Garrett Crochet thing is not as realistic as maybe people have made it out to be for the Phillies, because they will not be trading Andrew Painter, and the Chicago White Sox really want Andrew Painter, and I just think that's a non-starter for the Phillies. So I just think there's a lot of different balls in the air for them right now. And yes, if you subtract from your rotation in trading Suarez, you're probably going to have to add to it in some way. I think that remains to be seen.
So, Matt, one of the super interesting names out there for all teams because of his value is Roki Sasaki, the Japanese phenom 23-year-old pitcher. Now, the Phillies have made a concerted effort over the past couple years to scout the Japanese market, to get over there. They were very involved with Yamamoto with a good offer last offseason. This is something they're making a concerted effort to get into. Is it stupid to even talk about? Is he going to be a Dodger or a Padre, or do you believe the other teams have a chance? And if so, do the Phillies have a shot here?
I don't think it's stupid, Jamie. I mean, I think what we just don't know a lot, right? Because this is not like the Yamamoto situation. This is not like
Sure.
Ohtani's free agency from last year. This is basically Ohtani's first time coming over to America when everyone was on equal footing financially, because Sasaki will be posted in sort of the international free agent system. Uh, he can't sign a major league contract. And so, with everyone on equal financial footing, I think that puts the Phillies at a huge disadvantage, quite honestly. Um, one of their competitive advantages has been money. Like, they are
Sure.
willing to throw money, big money, at a guy like Yamamoto. They've made a big offer. Um, Obviously, Yamamoto wanted to be on the West Coast, wanted to play for the Dodgers, so they really didn't have much of a shot there. I don't think they have a great shot with Sasaki, but like, we don't really know because Sasaki is choosing to come over to the States now and essentially foregoing millions and millions and millions of dollars. Obviously, money doesn't mean as much to him, but we don't know what is important to him. People have speculated about him wanting to play for the Dodgers or play with Ohtani, uh, or to play with Yu Darvish, who's been one of his mentors, and he's with San Diego still. So I no doubt they will make a pitch. They're familiar with Sasaki's agent, Joel Wolf, who was also representing Yamamoto. They've dealt with Joel Wolf for years. He was Chase Utley's agent years ago. Um, I know that they'll make a presentation, but during this same process, whatever it was 7 years ago with Ohtani or 8 years ago, I don't know how many years now. I mean, the Phillies have never even made it to the next round, really, when Ohtani was sort of deliberating these proposals. But that said, he went to the Angels, and nobody thought he was going to go to the Angels. The Angels didn't think he was going to go to the Angels. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I think they're a huge long shot for Sasaki. I really do.
On that, Matt, is there any word or speculation out there why the Chibalote Marines posted him? Because if they waited 2 more years, Yamamoto's team got like $50 million. Now the Marines are only going to get 25% of what Sasaki signs for. Why?
There's been a lot of speculation that Sasaki had something written into his contract that he could do this at any point, and it is rather unprecedented, Jamie. You're right. I mean, this is unusual, and no doubt the team did not want Sasaki to leave now because it is going to cost him a lot of money. There's been speculation about him sort of. I mean, he was a teenage star in Japan, so it's not as if he just became good. Like, I think that he's been on this path for quite a few years now. So I think it sounds like something was written into his contract there that was going to allow him to leave. Yeah. And I mean, he's probably going to make a lot of money in the States at some point. It's just not going to be right away, obviously.
So last one for me, when it comes to the bullpen specifically, obviously 2 big names are unrestricted free agents, Jeff Hoffman, Carlos Estevez. With the expectation, it feels to me like if either are going to be back, it's going to be one of the 2 and most likely not 2 of the 2. What is the approach to the bullpen outside of potentially bringing one of those 2 guys back? Does it feel to you like it's another find a Jeff Hoffman type of situation, like a kind of a carbon copy and hope that you get productivity out of a guy like that, find a Matt Strahm type of guy who could do a little bit of both and ended up settling into a really nice role? What's your evaluation of how they're going to address the bullpen this offseason?
I think they're looking for one big fish and then another guy, kind of like to find the Jeff Hoffman, find, the lesser guy and make him into a dude for you, for lack of a better word. I do think they're looking for a big leverage, setup, closer type. And I'm telling you, look for trades. I mean, their talks so far have been, and this is with every team right now. It's early in the offseason. These trade talks are more prevalent than free agent talks. I mean, you just don't see many free agents sign this early, I guess, unless you're the Angels, who are just apparently signing all the guys they want right away. But I'm telling you, look out for trades there. I mean, I think there's numerous relievers out there who are set up closer types who are, 4 or 5 years of service time. I mean, the guy that sticks out to me, Ryan Helsley from St. Louis, I think is like, makes so much sense for both sides. The Cardinals are going into what they're sort of calling a rebuild, reset, whatever they want to call it. I think Helsley is very available in trade. He's got 1 year left of club control, throws hard, saved a ton of games the last few years. I think he fits them. Whether or not they can match up on a trade, we'll see. Devin Williams, obviously, people have talked about him from Milwaukee. Seems like they could move on from him there. There's other relievers across the sport. Andres Munoz, a closer in Seattle. I'd keep an eye on him. I think there's different options for them, and if they do go get one of those guys through a trade, then you might see them sign, maybe a lesser guy to try to throw into that late inning mix. But yeah, I mean, I think they're going to add at least 2 right-handed relievers. Definitely 1, probably 2, but they might not both be on big free agent contracts.
Matt, I'm curious what your best guess is here at the path for Justin Crawford. Is there a possibility he gets the big league camp invite in spring training this year? And how do you think they view him? Could he possibly be a trade chip? Are they counting on him to be a future, cornerstone of the outfield? What do you think his path forward is?
All the above. I mean, he'll definitely be in big league camp. And I think, there's a path in which he's used in a trade this offseason. I think that's definitely on the table. But I know that they like him. I think, and in talking to rival evaluators who have seen him over the last few years, and especially last year, people are high on him, but they also think that he needs time to mature. Like, he is still really young, and not just like, I'm not talking about mature like attitude wise, but mature just like physically. He needs to just grow into his body a little more. And I think some of the swing stuff will improve as he gets a little stronger and bigger. Um, that's not to say that he can't be a potential factor in the big leagues at some point in 2025. That could happen. I think what you're dealing with here is it's a great base, right? I mean, it's a guy who is athletic, speedy, and has really good bat to ball skills, really good contact. And that's something like you can't teach athleticism and speed, and you can't really teach contact.
Sure.
So that's a great base to start. Now, if they want to try to get him to hit a little more line drives, have a little more gap power, that is something that they can incorporate down the line, especially as he gains strength. I just think he probably needs at least a year more of development in an ideal situation. Now, maybe their hand is forced. Maybe they end up trading him. Maybe they end up beating him in the majors come July or June or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different paths for him. He'll be in big league camp if he's in the organization. That's for sure.
Cool. And Johan Rojas, what do you think the future holds for him? I've kind of always joked on the show, we don't need to preface every Johan Rojas conversation with this guy is an otherworldly defender. Like he's unbelievable in the field. Offensively is where the issues arise. Hasn't really taken the stride. It was actually like okay this year, but he didn't take that step forward that maybe they were counting on. What do you think the path is here for Johan Rojas?
Yeah, I mean, I think we noticed him more because they didn't get as much production in left field, maybe than they wanted. And if they do go get a big upgrade in left field, then having Rojas be the center fielder is much more viable, I think. He's been in Clearwater working with some of their hitting coaches this offseason. He's actually going to go play winter ball in the Dominican, I believe.
I think he's on a Cunha's team, right?
Yeah, either later this month or early December, he's going to go back to the Dominican and play winter ball, which they were totally on board with. I think they just would like to see him make smarter decisions at the plate. I mean, he needs to use his speed. I mean, he is, again, extremely talented in ways that you cannot teach because of that athleticism. And like they're really upset, I think, just how he wasn't able to incorporate more bunting into his game. And it's not going to be his whole game, but it could be a really powerful part of his game because if he gets on first base, he'll probably be on second base. So he can steal second base. So I think they just would like to see him shorten the swing and just make better decisions, not try to put balls in the air. And I know that's counterintuitive to modern baseball, but he has a specific skill set that could be used better. And I think they're just looking to try to unlock more of that. And I know there's some frustration with him because we didn't see it at times last year. But if they do get an upgrade in left field, he could make sense in center field, even if it's a platoon with him and Brandon Marsh. If Marsh is still on the roster, we'll see. I mean, I think anything is possible. Ross could be a trade candidate too, part of a trade package. So I think they've pretty much left every door open with most of these guys, and he's included in that.
Yeah, last one for you. You mentioned in the story, left field, the easiest path is signing a free agent. There's also the possibility of trading for outfield help. And like you said, center field kind of depends on, if you get an Anthony Santander in left field, then Rojas becomes more valuable because he's a negative defender. Same with like a Teoscar Hernandez. Do you think left field is obtained through trade or free agency? And what are some names maybe in each that you kind of have an eye on?
Hard to say. I mean, like the market is not great. I mean,
It's
those
bad,
two guys
man.
are
It's real bad.
Yeah, those two guys are interesting hitters, but I think uh, why they may not be necessarily attracted to those two guys is because they have very similar profiles to a lot of their hitters in the lineup right now. I mean, these are guys with big power potential, but also a lot of swing and miss, and not big high end base guys. So, I know for example, Teoscar Hernandez was a guy who, they had talked about trading for 2 summers ago. So this would have been July 2023. He was available on a trade at that point, and he was traded. I think I forget. I think he was with Seattle at the
I think he
time.
went
Maybe
from
he didn't
Seattle
get
to
moved.
Toronto, or
Yeah,
inverse maybe.
yeah, and so he was a guy that they had discussed and thought about, but they just decided that his skill set at the time was just too close to what they already had. And look, I mean, he had a huge year last year for the Dodgers. Had some huge hits in the playoffs, and Santander had a huge year for the Orioles. Both these guys would be upgrades from him, no doubt. I think it's a question of what will the price be, and whether they think that uh, this is the way that they can improve their lineup or better balance their lineup, which is something they've talked about a lot already this offseason. So, and beyond those two guys, it's hard to come up with some of these names because it's unclear like who's available in trades necessarily. Now, if you're dangling like an Alec Bohm or Ranger Suarez, maybe that allows you to get to a younger big league hitter that maybe you wouldn't have been able to get to in a trade, but now you're offering a decent piece in return. And that's again why they are trying to be proactive with the trade talks. It's like, okay, well, if we don't like necessarily it's on the free agent market, maybe we have to dangle a good player to get a good player. And Dave Dombrowski has literally said this to start the offseason. So maybe that gets them to guys that we don't think are available in a trade, but maybe become available because another team's like, oh, we can get this for that guy. Okay, now maybe we're going to do that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm a big Luis Robert buy low. He's at an all-time low right now. I'd love to
It's
get
not going to be
Rob.
buying low though. That's the thing. I mean, like the White Sox have a really high price on him, and I think he'll get traded this offseason, but he might not because I think the White Sox valuation of him is not matching what other teams, not just the Phillies, I think other teams view him as.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I mean, it makes sense to buy low on him. I don't know that they're going to be selling low.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fascinating offseason, Matt. I'm really looking forward to what they do. I think they're going to be very active in a lot of different ways and get creative, and we'll be following you along the way. You do a great job over at The Athletic. Love reading your stuff, and really appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys.
See you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
So there he is, Matt Gelb from The Athletic. A lot on the table.
I think that
even Matt's like, yeah, there's a lot of balls in the air.
Yeah, opportunities feel, and I shouldn't say endless because we've talked about it. The free agent class this year is super top heavy, but how good is it in the middle grounds? So if you're not signing that type of player, I think the more viable option, especially in left field, and Matt was bringing it up, I think the more viable option for left field specifically is via the trade market.
Yeah, I think that's becoming clearer. I mean, we went through the free agent options yesterday for left field, and we'll do center fielders tomorrow at this point because I want to get to Phillies trivia.
Sure.
It was a great interview with Matt there.
It was awesome.
I do think left field trade is probably more likely than free agent.
Yeah, I would say if
I should say left field and center field, because if you can get a center fielder in trade, then you can put Marsh in left.
It's a matter of like
they do have flexibility.
One of those two things are going to be upgraded, and that means either it's a left fielder with Rojas in center field, because I would think that Marsh would end up getting moved. I don't think they're going to want Marsh to be a fourth outfielder, or unless they feel like they want to keep him in their back pocket because he's cheap and he's got team control.
What is it, 3 more years?
It's a lot still to go, but I think he's got a year left before he gets to arbitration.
Yeah, it might even be 4 years. Right.
But
which gives him value.
Sure. So I would think if they do acquire an everyday outfielder, Brandon Marsh would probably be on the way out. But if he's not, that, you probably have flexibility at that point. Okay, so he enters arbitration this year.
Yeah.
So he's got 3 years of arbitration left. Estimated pay this year is going to go to $3 million.
It's a bargain.
Still, it's still cheaper than what you're going to get.
And I'm totally fine with Brandon Marsh being the opening day left fielder if
there's a better center fielder.
Center field.
Sure. And I'm totally fine with Johan Rojas being the opening day center fielder.
If they improve drastically offensively
the left field
and left
position.
field. Absolutely. So they do have flexibility there. Here's our teaser for the free agent crop of center fielders tomorrow. It stinks. All right? So, the left field free agent crop stinks. The center field, left field, it all stinks.
I'm just going to give you a preview really quickly. Some of the guys that we're going to talk about had worse offensive years than Johan Rojas
Oh,
did.
God.
Like really worse.
Oh, God. Okay. So we'll get into all that tomorrow, but fascinating stuff there. Look, I didn't think the Phillies had a real good shot at Sasaki, but Matt
didn't either.
Threw some cold water on that one, saying, and he's right. Their advantage is money. And when it's an even playing field and it's not a major league contract and everybody's locked into a set price, you do lose your
Tim Williamson brings up an interesting one.
That's T. Willie from the Discord.
Seiya Suzuki is one that I think a lot of people are keeping their eye on.
He and the Cubs are at a point where they, much like the Phillies, probably have to change some things up for the sake of changing some things up.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's an interesting one. He brought that up in our Discord a long time ago. An incredible contact hitter, very low K rate, great handling of the strike zone. Kind of exactly what the Phillies need to add here. So if he becomes available, hell yeah, I'm all in.
I think you're going to make a call for sure.
Yeah, so that's going to be a very interesting one for sure. All right, let's get to today's random Phillies trivia.
So
now you're going to be the MC here because you made the graphic. You know the answer. My ass is on the griddle. Got Michael Bourne yesterday.
Yesterday, you got 2 points. So for anybody that saw the graphic but doesn't understand how the points work, you get 4 chances to get it right. And the hints get easier and easier as we go. If you get it on the first hint, first of all, you're a sicko. And you get 4 points for it.
We have a friend that could get it on the first guess.
If you get it on the second one, you get 3, so on and so on. You only get 0 if you don't get it at all. But yeah, so you got 2 points yesterday. A good showing by you. I think the third hint was the one that kind of tipped the scales for you a little bit. But a good showing by you. So yes, we have another random Philly today. JP, if you don't mind showing the first hint of today's game.
Played for the Phillies for parts of 4 years. Oh, God.
That's the whole point of the first hint. You're not supposed to get it.
Has anybody gotten any of it? Because I know you text friends.
See, I only put the one.
Okay.
Actually, a couple buddies got it on the same hint that you did.
He kind of looks like he's got a big head.
This is a still shot, and it's the only shot I could get of them.
All right, I'm not going to get that one, JP. That could be
no
anybody.
Guess?
No.
All right, no guess.
What's next? I'm so nervous. Won 15 games, 200 inning pitched.
So the 1 year, these both that happened in the same season. He won 15 games and pitched over 200 innings once with the Phillies.
4 years, won 15 games.
15 games, 1 season.
Yeah.
Okay.
In 1 season, sorry. 200 innings pitched. Oh, and chat, please play along with me. I'm not going to read. I can barely read that stuff, so I'm not going to read your answers.
Will says Andy Ashby.
And it is 2000 to current.
2000 to current, correct.
15 games. Taijuan Walker has not been here 4 years. Was Kyle Kendrick longer than 4 years? Yeah, he had to have been, right? All right, give me another hint.
All right, hint number 3.
Acquired via trade with Toronto in 99. 99.
So that gives you the time frame. It's right at the at the beginning of this game.
I was drinking a lot in college at that point. And I wasn't watching the Phillies nightly because I was out of market.
Because you were drinking in college.
And it was pre TV in the palm of your hand. days. And to everybody watching on TV, we appreciate you. If you want to follow along, you can head to allphly.com or join us on YouTube. As my ass is on the grill here, I'm starting to sweat.
A couple of good guesses down towards the bottom. I'm going to tell you neither are correct.
Bruce Chen.
But some good guesses.
I did have Kevin Millwood, Kevin Irock come to mind. Fun fact, I charted Kevin Millwood's Phillies no-hitter for the George Michael Sports Machine.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not a bad game.
Yeah. Randy Wolf's not a bad. Toronto trade. Is it Andy Ashby?
It is not Andy Ashby. I will tell you that right now.
Okay.
It is not Andy Ashby.
Blue Jays trade. Oh, man.
This is a much more difficult one than yesterday.
Yes.
Now, I will tell you this. I think hint 4 is going to give it away.
Okay. I think I need it. Hit 2 home runs, including
a grand slam in one game. In one game. Yes. It's the last Phillies pitcher to hit 2 home runs in one game.
Oh. Damn it. I have so many like random names swirling around my head, and this should give it away for me. But it's not.
He did it against the Montreal Expos. Who, let me double check.
Oof.
Let me double check who started that game because
Brandon Duckworth, no.
It was not Brandon Duckworth.
It's not Randy Wolf because he was homegrown, right? Robert Person? Hit a grand slam.
By the way, Bruce Chen, who was mentioned in the chat, did start that game for Montreal.
Get out of here. Yeah. That's crazy. It's not Joe Blanton. I can picture... Black guy?
What's that?
Was he a black guy?
Yeah. I want to be certain of what his nationality is. I don't want to be rude.
Well, yes, but I know what you mean. But
yes.
Okay. Like I can picture it. It's not Robert Person. All right, I'm done. I'm tapping out.
All right, go ahead, JP. It is in fact Robert Person.
Son of a! Why didn't I just guess that?
Robert Person pitched for portions of 4 years from 1999 to 2002 with the Phillies. He went 15-7 in 2001.
I said the name.
And through 280 innings.
Idiot.
Got a couple Robert Persons.
Did people in the chat get it?
Yeah.
Good job, whoever got it. Kevin.
I think it was Will first. Will
I think I even read Kevin's comment. I was like, yeah, I was thinking about Robert Person.
Yes, it was indeed Robert Person. He was acquired from the Toronto Blue Jays.
See, I didn't remember that.
For Paul Spoljarvik.
Sure, that's a real person.
I have no idea who this guy is.
Sure, that's a real person.
Has a career 5.52 ERA.
Oh, I can't believe I said his name and got it wrong still. I could picture the grand slam. And, man, that's going to bother me the rest of the day, you realize, right?
Yeah, no. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the point of this game.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. No points for you.
And may God have mercy on your soul. Big thanks to JP Zapata for producing today's show. Big thank you to Matt Gelb from The Athletic for joining us to talk about, frankly, what is a fascinating Phillies offseason. Alec Bregman versus Alec Bohm. Does Bohm get moved? It's kind of, you got the burner on low.
Yeah, the stove's on.
Yeah, the stove is on. Yeah. It's on low. It's
you got an electric stove though right now? No gas right now.
That was actually one of my I hate electric stoves.
No gas right now.
So one of my when me and my wife were house shopping, where you have your must-haves.
Yeah.
2 of my must-haves were gas stove and AC. Outside of that, I didn't really give a damn.
Okay.
So gas stove is very important to me.
Why was that really important for you, if I may ask?
I hate electric stovetops.
You could have just gotten one though, no?
Not necessarily without the cost of adding a gas line to your kitchen.
Forgot about that.
Some areas don't have gas lines. It was a big thing for me.
That was a deal breaker?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What if this was like a beautiful house?
Yeah, deal breaker. I'm out. Give me the gas, baby. All right. It's a good game Tyler has started torturing me with. And to everybody that hung out with us today, thank you. Appreciate you. Love you. We're going to be back tomorrow, same time, same place here at 11 a.m. Buster Olney just put out a story today as we were coming on air about the Phillies intrigue in Garrett Crochet, who Matt made reference to. it does sound like Andrew Painter would have to be on the table. And if that's the case, I'm out. I'm out.
Well, it's funny because like we were talking about, I know it was getting mentioned in like this hypothetical Discord conversation. Andrew Painter's on the table for like 7 pitchers in baseball. Like again, total hypothetical. If Tarek Skubal, if the Tigers call and say Tarek Skubal, like yes, I'm doing it.
Apparently, they made him an insulting contract extension offer.
That's not good.
The whole point of owning a baseball team and scouting is to find a Tarek Skubal. You don't insult the man. Pay that man his money or send him here to Philadelphia, you dumb bastards. All right, that's going to do it for us. For Tyler Zulli and JP Sabata, I'm Jamie Lynch. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m.
We all silly like the mayor.